Johnny Jenkins here once again, and I want to thank you for watching video 1. Now if you haven't watched video 1 yet, there's going to be a link below. You can click right there and you can check out that video. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and let you enjoy some more tips that are going to help you catch bass on hollow-bodied frogs. Now let's go ahead and get into the two different types of hollow-bodied frogs, when I like to use them and why. Now with hollow-bodied frogs, there's two basic types that you want to keep in mind, and they have their place, and they both catch fish, and they both equally catch fish in similar or same situations. But there are times when I've found that bass like one or the other more. There'll be a situation where you're fishing one type and they'll swipe at one, and then you fish the other one and they'll swallow it. So that's one of those things that you want to keep in mind when you're out there fishing. And the two basic types, you're going to have this, where it's just going to have, this is the regular traditional frog right here. And then you're going to have a popping frog, where it has this curved lip, just like a hard bait, like the poppers that you're used to, the pop-ars and stuff like that. The regular frog is the way to go, especially in fishing the afternoon. And you're fishing sun, you're fishing like shady banks, or you're fishing around the shad spawn. Anytime you're trying to mimic shad, that's a really big deal. For me, I like to fish it in clearer water with the regular one, and I like to fish it when I want to fish a little bit faster. In general, the popping frog, I like it when the water's got some stain to it. I think that popper, it throws off a little bit different action. It throws off a little bit more surface action, and there's more waves and ripples kind of going on, commotion. I feel like they can feel a little bit more in that stained water. That can be critical. And on top of that, the color of a lot of these poppers are a little bit different, the very nose of them, and I think that helps to give it just a little bit of different color. But that's really the general. For me also, if there's more wind, if it's a little bit windy, I like a popping frog. It creates more commotion, and I can pop it or I can walk it. The popping frogs, especially the Spro one, very good at walking, and you can walk this thing around. It creates a little bit more commotion in that wind. If it's dead still, slick, calm, sunny, that's when you want to go to your regular ones. But like I said, there's no absolutes. They both catch fish. They both catch fish in similar or same conditions. Have them both tied on if you can. Fish them, try them out, and you're going to learn that they both catch bass. Okay, now when it comes to customizing your frog, there's not a whole lot that you can do. It's not like certain lures where you can really trick different things out, because these baits really come out of the package ready to fish. They're ready to catch fish, but there are little small things. And one of those, the one that I do to just pretty much every single frog that I get straight out of the package, is I take the rubber legs and I pull them together just like this, and I cut them. And I typically cut anywhere from 2 to 3 inches off. What your goal is, you want to have the legs to be about the same length of the whole rubber body of the frog, and sometimes a little bit shorter. Honestly, oftentimes when you get to catching a lot of fish on a frog, the rubber legs seem to get kind of cut off a little bit. They get kind of thinned out, and I tend to catch more fish with them. So honestly, I've gotten to where I actually thin them out a little bit. On each side, I'll cut a few of the strands off, or you can cut a few strands off on one side. If you're really having a hard time walking your frog, get it to walk back and forth, and you're still kind of new at that, cut one side just a little bit shorter. So you're going to cut both of them equal length, same distance, or same length of the rubber frog. You're going to have them same length, and then take one side and cut it just a little bit shorter, about ½ an inch. Cut it just a little bit shorter, and it's going to help it walk. And you can also thin that same side out just a little bit, cut maybe 1 to 3 strands out, at the most 4, and it's going to help it walk just a little bit more, but you don't want to cut it too much. Alright, so there's one last customization that I like to make to my hollow-bodied frogs, and that is I like to bend the hooks out slightly, and I'm talking real slightly. It's very subtle, and you can barely pick it up with your naked eye. If you look at this bait when it comes out of the package, you're going to notice that the hooks, they rest and they kind of lead towards the eye, but they're kind of poking in just a little bit towards the body of the frog. If you notice that, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to bend it out just slightly upwards to where you're going to notice the hook's going to bend very slightly towards the sky. It's a very subtle difference. You can look at these two pictures side by side. It's a very subtle difference, but I'm telling you, it really does make a big difference. You're not going to get any more snags than you would if it just come out of the package. If so, it's very slight. But the big deal, I've had a situation several years ago where I bent the hooks out just a little too much, and I had a feeling that I might have the day before the tournament. I was rigging up all this stuff, and I bent them out. I felt like maybe I bent it just a little too much. When I went into the tournament that morning, for half the day, I kept losing fish. Fish were jumping off, and that typically doesn't happen near that much. I had a practice where they were just eating the frog, and I wasn't losing any fish, anything. So I ended up having to switch to another frog that that I had been using previously, and I didn't have hardly any more problems. So just make that note. If you do it any more than I show in right here in this picture, you're going to have trouble with the fish jumping off. I think it has something to do with when you bend that hook out a little too much. There's something with the pull point of it. Maybe you weaken the hook just a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe it flexes a little bit more. But that's just something that I've experienced. I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that these tips help you. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching these free tips. This has been Johnny Jenkins. I hope to see you watching the third video.